Hey everyone, it's Jerry at the Fledge. I got Jeremy and Bob with us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about coding and hopefully get some more people engaged with our coding club. So, how you doing today, Jeremy?
Doing well. How are you?
Where are you at? A library or something?
I am at the Eaton Rapids Area District Library, and it sounds like I have buy-in to start promoting the coding club.
Oh, awesome.
So,
So, welcome to you. And Bob, where are you at? Up
I'm at
north
home.
or something? Way
Pardon?
up north? Way up north?
No. Well, north of you.
Yeah, DeWitt's really north of us.
Yeah. I'm not
So-
in DeWitt, though. I'm in Watertown Township,
okay, that's
sorry.
good.
DeWitt School District.
That's good because we wouldn't want to talk to a DeWittiot, would we?
No.
So I think you got some stuff for us today, Bob. You want to tell us what's up?
Well, basically, what I'm thinking and what I think I've gotten agreement from you two from is that when we talk about coding, we're going to use Python initially, so that we've got a common understanding of what programming languages. There's a lot of them out there. Python is one of them. It's one that's easy enough for just about anybody to get hold of. It's open source. There's a lot of free IDEs that can be used. Yeah, there we go. There's python.org up there. Thank you.
Would you mind telling us what an IDE is?
It's I think it's an integrated development environment. I hope I'm getting the right.
You got it.
Okay. It's basically a place where it's got an editor, which allows you to enter the code, and then it usually has some way that it's hooked into a Python interpreter, so that when you write some code, it will then allow you to execute the code, look at it, and see if it's working, stuff like that. So, and there's several of them. I did a little looking around today, and there's one that comes usually with the, if you just go out to python.org and download, for whatever machine you're using, there's one that comes with that, and it's called Idle. And it's pretty simple, stripped down. There's another one that I found called Mu, which they use a lot on Raspberry Pis and so on and so forth. But it's one that you can also get and download and put out there. It's relatively decent. I think it's maybe a beginner one. Idle is definitely a pretty stripped down version of a IDE. And then there's a little bit fancier and bigger and badder one that's called PyCharm. And they have what they call a community edition of that you can use for free, for like non-commercial purposes, I believe. But they've also got a version that you pay for if you're going to use it commercially. So,
I remember every time I had to buy a compiler and all get into programming in the 80s and 90s, it could be several $1,000s for an IDE. And now we're talking free.
well, it's interesting. Back when I first got started writing code, I worked at the Chrysler Proving Grounds down in Chelsea, Michigan. And at that time, I think we had, they were either DEC, Digital Equipment Corporation computers, or they might have been Hewlett-Packard computers. But back then, there were a lot of free software that you could, get hold of and use on those systems. And then along came commercialization, and I think a good deal of it started with Microsoft, but a lot of the big companies like IBM, so on and so forth, that was the big guy in the room back in my day, earlier day, and the old saw back then was nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. So, but things have changed a lot, and we've moved on, and open source has really had a heyday in my mind. There's a lot
I thought
Go ahead.
I thought the first computer when you were a kid was like an organ.
Yeah.
So now everybody has to look up turning and what I mean by that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually the first computer, and we talked about this last time, that I had was a MITS Altair 8800, and I bought it over a period of 8 months for $68.75 a month. And then they'd send me a part of it, and I would solder it up and then wait a month till the next piece came, and so on and so forth. And then I had a computer that had an enormous amount of memory. I believe it was 1K. So
You said that was about a page or two of a book, right?
well, it would be 1,024 characters, 10 or no, 512. Yeah, 1024.
So what our thought is that we will follow an agenda every coding club that's kind of the same.
Okay.
And now I just backed myself in the corner because I remember the first thing is a programming concept. The second thing is, and that's where I backed myself into the corner.
Well, the first thing was a programming concept, at least what I was thinking initially. And then the second thing was to, if you're working on a project, to show somebody a little bit about it, what it's like, what you're doing, different, like if you've gotten a new computer or a new doodad and you want to show it off. But I think most of the time there has to be some relation to, computing.
Yeah. So I like that. I like so part of this, what you just said is an invitation to anybody who's out there watching that if you want to get involved, message us at the Fledge's page, and we'll pop you on the screen with us, and you can talk about a concept, you can demo something, you can help us out, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The more the merrier as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do we have a concept picked out that we want to try today?
Let me go here and look a second, see if I can find some. Don't switch me over yet. Well, here, I'll tell you what, I'm going to look on here just to make sure I've got it. Which one it is.
And Jeremy's going to fill space with song.
You don't
Sing
want
us
to
a
hear
song.
me sing.
Well, I don't want to hear you tell a joke either.
No, most of my jokes are not all age friendly.
I like your mask, though. I like tell everyone what your mask says if they can't see it.
The mask says "Hack the Planet." It's the slogan from a 1995 cyberpunk type movie called Hackers.
All right.
And it looks rather dated by today's standards, but there are some pretty cool things in the movie. So it's worth a watch at least once if you haven't seen it.
I like the thought of hacking the planet, though. We got to do more.
Well, we got people out there hacking the genome, so we might as well hack the planet too.
Absolutely.
Okay, now I'm going to look here a second.
You don't want me to share yet?
Not yet. Let me
right.
get to the thing.
We got to be color commentators while Bob's searching stuff, Jeremy.
Yeah.
So you can do the play. I'll do the play-by-play. You can do the, trivia on the side. So Bob's staring intently in another screen, trying to figure out. Oh, he switches back to the other computer. What a move. He must have a swivel chair.
I do.
You got to color it up, Jeremy. I was lost there.
Oh, let's see. Trivia. Did you all know that there are multiple versions of Python available? There is your standard Python that will run on your typical Mac, Windows PC, or Linux box, but there are also 2 other variants that are becoming more common. One is called MicroPython, which is for your little microcontroller-based boards.
Such as the Raspberry Pi.
Actually, such as the ESP32.
Arduino.
And then there is CircuitPython, which is a subset of MicroPython that is specifically for boards put out by I believe it's Adafruit, which make their own boards. So they have a few little bells and whistles that let you hook into their specific feature sets on their boards a little easier. So I guess that's my trivia for the day.
Do you see how fast Bob's switching back and forth? It's amazing.
Oh no.
You have a bug? I'm showing everyone.
No, what I've got is I've got this these handouts, which was what I was going to show, and I got caught by myself because I don't have Office on the computer on my laptop. I've got a copy of it that I can put on here, but I don't have it on there now. So I was going to bring up one of these. I can sort of run it from here and just describe it. It was sort of an interesting handout in that it's vocabulary, for computing. Now, the other thing that I'm uncertain about is the level. If we're going to have younger people that might not know some of the concepts and that kind of stuff, the jargon, as it were. So I was going to, spend a few minutes going over some of those, and then we could go on to some other stuff too. But I'm definitely going to have to put a copy of Word on here so I can bring those up. Either that or convert them to PDFs on my other one and bring them over that way. But if I turn away for a second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this stuff and just go through this list. And, if anybody's got any input or whatever,
well, let me just say hi to Steve Manning. He said hi to us. Okay. He's out watching us right now. And I want to remind the viewers that if you got some questions or you want some concepts, we might not answer everything today, but we can definitely follow it on with the next episode. So Let's talk about a few things, Bob, like what you're talking about.
Okay. What I want to do is just go down this list. Let's see. Yeah, it's like one page. I'm going to actually print it off so I can face the screen and anyway, there's error messages, execute, IDE, interpreter, logic error, sequence, subroutine, syntax error, things like that, translator.
So, Cindy Mayo, thank you, Cindy, for watching this. Appreciate you being a subscriber. She said, will you be doing coding challenges, and will we be using GitHub? And I think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
And, you know, have a challenge we put out there. Someone that finishes it can come demo it. So thank you for the suggestion, Cindy.
That's a great
and
idea.
we expect your submission early next week. Just kidding.
Okay, I'm going to go through this just now, and then if we want to talk about some other things, I can show you something else. The first thing is error messages. Used to find errors in your programs. They pinpoint lines of code that contain errors and provide details about them. So when you're writing code, you're going to, unless you're better than anybody here and a whole bunch of others, you're going to have errors. You're going to have them. Everybody has them. Execute. That means,
I would also suggest that if you don't have errors, you might not be pushing yourself far enough.
good point. Yeah.
Because errors they happen on the fringe of your talent, and you want your talent to grow. So push yourself. Errors are okay.
Yeah, they're part of the game. Execute is to carry out instructions on a computer program. That's what the whole game is all about. The IDE we talked about a little bit earlier. Did we talk about that since we've been live?
We did talk about since we were live, I think.
Okay. An interpreter, that's what, if we're going to be doing Python, it's an interpreter as opposed to a compiler. And that means that it executes as you go, whereas a compiler will translate the code into machine code that will then, that you just run that later. So that's what an interpreter is. You're going to have logic errors. That's a particular type of error where you either don't understand the logic that you're trying to execute, or you miss something in the process.
So that's different from your code. You write your code and then the computer doesn't understand it. That's an error there. But then the logic error is the light's supposed to turn green, but it's turning red because you did something wrong in the code.
Right. So the logic is incorrect. Then, there's the concept of sequence. When you're writing code, the computer goes line by line down through the code. Now, there are times where it will hit something, where there's a loop or something, or it will call a subroutine or whatever. But it essentially is a sequence of instructions that it goes through. Then another piece of vocabulary they've got here is a subroutine, which is a piece of code that you jump to. That's what a subroutine is. It's a routine that a sequence of instructions to perform a specific task with an identifiable name is the vocabulary. Then we get into syntax. And then syntax errors. So those are the kind of errors I think that normally are going to give you the type of errors we were talking about earlier, where it's going to pop up and just tell you that you've got this type of an error or whatever. Whereas a logic error, you might miss for quite some time. And then they talk about a translator, which is, a piece of code that executes a program that you write in a higher language. So there's a set of vocabulary related to coding early on when you first get into this stuff.
So learn that vocabulary, study what those different things are, think through those concepts, and that will really help you with whatever language that any programming that you're doing, right?
Most of the stuff that we're going to be doing in Python, and the majority of it can be applied to other languages, whatever the language of the day is.
Yeah. And we're going to try to instill some good disciplines like commenting and error trapping,
Right. Yeah.
and, anything that can help you figure out why it's not working right. And I'm also
validation.
Yeah.
We've got a question on here from Steve Manning. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is Python for newbies? That, I would think it's a pretty straightforward language. With any language, if you approach it in some kind of a structured way, it's not going to be that difficult. But if you try to do something really exotic right off the get-go, you're going to have problems. You're going to spend a lot more time debugging than whatever, So, and hopefully we can get into some of that stuff, the better approaches. My gut level, although I've been looking at code for some years now, my gut level is that Python is a fairly straightforward one to get started with.
So probably a 1.
Yeah,
I don't know
what do you think, Jeremy?
I would put it between a 1 and a 3, somewhere in that range. It's pretty easy to pick up, and there are a lot of examples out there available, whether it's from GitHub or different websites that you can grab somebody else's code and pick it apart, and learn from somebody else's code.
Yeah. That's something that we've talked about in the past. What was your little saying, Jerry, about plagiarizing?
No, I don't want to tell you that on there.
Why not?
It was plagiarize. That's why God gave you your eyes.
There you go. It's part of the game. I mean, there's a point where you go over the line, and then if you take credit for somebody else's work, that's not right. But when you're learning how to code, you're going to look at a lot of code. In fact, that's one of probably the best things to do, is to find a piece of code and start looking through that piece of code and try and figure out what it does even before you run it. Spend the time, and start off with something small if you're a newbie. But once you think you understand what it's going to do, then run it and see if you got it or not. And then if it does something different, then go back and look at it and try and figure out why you thought it would do the one thing, but it did something else.
And that's where, you'll hear me say a lot. You'll hear fledglings say a lot, succeed or learn. If it doesn't compile, if it doesn't run, if it doesn't do what you expect, just go back at it. It's a big video game. Yes. So you're just trying to level up every time. So run it. If it doesn't work, then figure out why it doesn't work. Succeed or learn. Don't give up.
Right. For me, it's one of the most interesting ways to learn a new skill, because it's so iterative. You do it, and then if it doesn't do exactly what you want, you go back in and tweak it a little bit, run it again, it's not something where you sit down and think the whole thing through, some huge program, and then sit down and write it and then punch the button and it works. No, that's not the way it works.
So do you have any code to show today, or you want me to start? So we talked before that we would go for about 30 minutes. So we got about 5 minutes left. What are you thinking for running code today?
To be perfectly honest, I don't have anything ready to go with that.
Okay.
If you want to see something I got, a toy I got that could lead to some pretty interesting stuff, I'd be more than happy to switch over because I do have VNC on here. So
well, let me while you're doing that, while you're switching over, let me just put a challenge out to everybody.
Okay.
Anybody who might want to do a Hello World type of program in Python and demonstrate it to us next week. Does this sound reasonable for Python?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
I don't care what language you're working in. That's the first program you always write, Hello World, or some variation of it.
So since we're a newbie as far as a group trying to get this done, let's make our first challenge per Cindy's suggestion that we do a Hello World in Python. And if somebody wants to demonstrate it, message us and you can join this crowd with us next week and be live with us and demonstrate your program. You guys all right with that?
Oh, yeah.
All absolutely. Right. And you want to show us something, Bob?
Well, yeah, I picked up a do you have me switched over there now?
I can.
Do I have to, huh?
There we go. You got it?
Yeah, okay, here we go. I've got a VNC client on my computer, and I'm hooked up to a Jetson Nano 2 gig developer kit. This thing, I looked at these Jetson Nanos a while ago, and they were running a couple of $100, and I thought, that's a little bit much. I can buy Raspberry Pis and do stuff with them a lot cheaper. Well, they had one for $59, and this has a quad core processor in it, and then it has a GPU that has 128 video cores, and they do a lot of stuff with artificial intelligence and so on and so forth. So I'm sort of intrigued by that, to play around with that a little bit. Now I should be able to, here I can show you the.
At some point, will you copy the link and throw it in the comments for us, Bob?
Yeah, I will do that. There's my system monitor. There isn't a lot going on right now. When I first got this thing, I thought I'd fried it because it popped up. It's running a copy of Ubuntu underneath, and then it's got their some of their software and stuff on it, and it. I got a notification that I could upgrade the operating system to the latest, get all of the updates and all that kind of stuff. Well, yeah, why not? I've updated a lot of Linux operating systems, and I did that, and it went out to lunch. It wouldn't come back up. So then I started Googling what the heck happened, and one of the, responses was that, you've fried the thing. You better do an RMA. And I thought, no, not an RMA. I don't want to wait another week or month or whatever. So I pulled.
Most people might not know that that's a return material authorization and your authorization to return it.
Right, with the manufacturer. Yeah, sorry about that. What I did though, I mean, it's similar to a Raspberry Pi and some other smaller computers like that, in that you put the operating system on a secure digital card. This one's a micro SD, and then plug it in there and go. And then when you do your updates, it writes them on there. Well, I pulled that out and put the operating, the original download that I got from NVIDIA, who's the manufacturer of this thing, put it back on there. And I haven't done the upgrade yet. I'm going to do a little playing around first, and then I'm going to check and see if there's people have had problems when they did the upgrade. But this is a fairly powerful computer that you can pick up for $60, and I can give you more details, and I can put the links out there in that too. So,
all right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Either we have to throw the links in now before we finish the go live, or we can do it later. Which do you want to do it now, or you want to do it after we're finished?
Hold on a second here. Let me get here and let me go to their. Okay.
And then for us internally, I know everyone can hear us, but we passed our 30-minute mark.
Uh-oh.
So we need to wrap up.
Okay.
And this is where you come in with color commentary, Jeremy.
Okay.
Bob is feeling the stress. He's got the project deadline. Look at him go.
Where do I put this now?
Do you see a comments link somewhere?
Oh, okay. I do.
Yeah. All right. Paste it right in there, sir. So while Bob's doing that,
how do I paste
think
it in, guys? I'm
Control V.
Oh, and it'll just. Where does it stick it? At the top or the bottom?
I don't know. I would think the bottom.
Well, I just did it. Control V.
Well, how about this? We'll put it in the links of the YouTube and Facebook later.
Okay.
And for now, let's just summarize real quick.
Okay.
First of all, we're going to talk about a concept like Bob went through the definitions. That was spectacular. I think it's a good basic start. We're going to demonstrate something in Python. So we're going to stick with Python for a little bit. And that demonstration, we're calling out to all of you in the crowd per Cindy's recommendation that just do your challenge. Just do the challenge that we just gave you. Try to write a Hello World program in Python. Reach out to us. We'll put you on the screen with us and let you demonstrate your code. And that's what the Fledge's Coding Club is really about. So hopefully some of you will start to participate next week, and Jeremy and I will work on our commentary skills, and Bob's got this on the, prepping us for this. And if you think about a challenge, let us know what the challenge should be. We're not trying to do AI yet, but let's do something simple and move forward. Steve Manning, thanks for watching today. Cindy Mayo, thank you for the suggestion. Quinn, we hope to see you on the screen next week. And everybody else that's out there watching, get involved with coding. You got reading, writing, arithmetic, and coding. That's what the new world looks like. That's what the future looks like. Jeremy, you got anything to say to take us out?
I'm good.
Bob, you got anything to say to take us out?
Well, you mentioned we weren't going to be doing AI yet, but we may get to that.
I know we're going to get there quick with you in the room. So, all right. Love y'all. Love everyone out there watching. We'll see you next week.
You bet.